Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engaged. Engaged. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Or gentlemen and ladies. Whichever way you want to go, we have to make sure everything is equal and fair in today's world. We don't want anyone to be left out. Of course, we always say ladies first. It's a very kind thing to do, but I mean, the way the polarity of the battle of the genders has gone on, maybe it's not polite anymore to say ladies first. Maybe a lady feels offended by ladies first. Although I don't believe in that personally. I have to say I'm still kind of an old school guy. Matter of fact, I was at a store today, and on my way out, I had the pleasure and opportunity to stand aside and hold the door open for this lovely young lady who was walking through. I was going to make a joke. My brain, see, it's just so funny. I was ready to say, well, if she wasn't too good looking, she was cute. But I'm just saying, if she wasn't too good looking, maybe I wouldn't have held the door. But that's not true. I hold the door for gentlemen. I will hold the door as well. But for the gentlemen, I'll walk through first and then hold the door. But a lot of times, if I have the opportunity, I will open the door and allow the lady to pass because we have to be kind to the ladies out there. Be nice to the ladies. Oh, the single ladies. Oh, the single ladies. Oh, the single ladies. Is that how that song went? How we doing out there today? Hello and welcome on a, what's today, Wednesday. I missed yesterday. I apologize. I did mention last week that this week was a little bit busy with a few things and that I may or may, it just happens, you never know what the hell's going to happen. This is a crazy world. Before I could be taken by aliens for all you know, and you never hear from me again. Wouldn't that be a blessing for all you people out there if I was abducted by aliens and they were just conducting research on me? And you, first of all, imagine what they can discover about the human mind if they were to delve deep into the recesses of mind, right? I mean, I would like to know what the hell's going on there so I can find some sort of continuity in my day-to-day life and thought process, right? So anyway, hey, how we doing out there, people? You're the best people in the world. I'm Pete Palma. This is Operation Status Quo. As always, I appreciate your time and all that kind of stuff to be here and watch and whatever the heck it is that you do. So I definitely am happy to be here for you, and I'm happy that you're here for me, and it works great for all of us. And anyway, that's about it. Let's wrap it up. Thanks, guys. Whew. That was a tough show today. Let's just wrap it up before we get too crazy. Hey-o. No, seriously. All right. Anyway, so today is the 16th. Yes, the 16th of August in the good year 2023. This, of course, is Operation Status Quo. And if you're new here, welcome. And to let you know, this is the place where we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life. And then, of course, we create our own flow of quo, because that's the only way to go. And that's what it's all about here. And I say it all the time. And, just I think it's good to reiterate it, a little bit in each episode. I'm not sure how many people, when they come across something like this, if they go back and watch the older episodes, I don't think you're going to go back and watch all 101 that I have so far. This is 102, to build up all the stream of consciousness that has gotten us to this point. So sometimes I may be repetitive in certain regard, but it's only because that's the importance of the message that I feel trying to share, which is just to remember to put a smile on your face, live from your heart, be happy, not to be too judgmental on moments, situations, anything that's going on in the world, not to get too wrapped up in the mainstream news and what seems to be playing out in the world. Again, I'll start here by saying it's just so much talk, obviously, about Maui and what happened in Hawaii with the fire and everything. And, we go down roads over here. This episode's not about this. And I wasn't really going to bring it up, but there's just so much that I've seen, and I'm not saying it's a whole conspiracy thing or whatever, right? But it's a really kind of deep concept overall. I mean, aside from the fact that, people were saying that the fire was intentionally created through a direct energy weapon or whatever, and the way it ripped and burned through everything was just far beyond what I guess what they said a normal fire would do. I have no idea about all that. All I do know is that there's people suffering again because of the way our society is set up. I mean, generally these aren't. the most important things, I never believe any of this stuff is like some sort of haphazard accident, like, especially the fact that Maui, if you want to go down these levels of things that I'm interested in, basically the heart chakra of planet Earth is located in that area of in Hawaii. So, and for what happened, it's very deep. I'm not going to get into all that, but let's just at the very least, keep an open mind. Of course, pray for the people over there and hope that everything goes well with them. It's just like these kind of tragedies, though. They just really get me every time. Between I liken this to something like 9/11 in a way. It's just like they blew up those buildings purposely and killed all those people, and for whatever reason this was done, they killed all those people for, I'm not sure what the purpose is or what it's supposed to show or what the lesson is to be learned at this point. But we have to be mindful that these things don't just happen the way they do. And, they're very, it's very, I'd say, ironic or convenient, whatever you want to say, for when they happen, how they happen, where they happen, all these type of catastrophic events. So anyway, I would just, open your mind to that kind of aspect and look at what's going on in the world, because I think, the stories being told based on everything that's happening out there and all these calamities that are going on. I mean, the earth just in general, I mean, there's so much stuff we don't hear about. I heard there was another wildfire in Greece, and you hear about these volcanoes going off in places they don't talk about. So I think it was in Italy somewhere. There was a volcano, and all this stuff is like going on, and you don't really hear about it. They come on TV and say it's back to school time. Did you get your pencils in your lunchbox? But there's bigger things happening because. Again, I know I go off on these crazy tangents, and I probably don't bring it all together the way I should, or that would maybe make it a thought for you to process properly and maybe be able to resonate with. My brain is so abstract sometimes in the way I see everything, and I see so much kind of at once that it's hard to, kind of wrap it all together sometimes. But anyway, I just feel that these are the type of things that go on. And, as consciousness is changing, as I say all the time, human consciousness is changing, and that includes the planet's consciousness as well. So all this stuff is going on for a reason, to get us to a new space. And I mean, it just is what it is, unfortunately. But I definitely send out all the best, and I hope you guys send out all the best too. And if you know anyone in Hawaii, and you speak to them, give them my best if you would. And you know what, ask them to subscribe. Is it too bad? Is it wrong to ask them to subscribe? If they have nothing to do over there right now, because they have no homes, maybe they can subscribe and watch my show. Hey-o. That's horrible. I'm only kidding around. Listen, I got a sense of humor too. What can I tell you? You have to, as tragic as things are, sometimes, you have to laugh a little bit. I mean, there's nothing to laugh at, don't get me wrong, but you have to just try to put it in a space a little bit. Otherwise, you'd really go bonkers in your brain with depression and everything else if you just look at what's going on at face value, right? So anyway, again, today's the 16th of August, 2023, and today's episode is entitled, Remember the Time When... ... question mark, because do you remember the time when? I was thinking about this yesterday, I guess, when I never got to do the show, but I was thinking about it yesterday. I was remembering today that I was thinking about it yesterday. I remember the time yesterday when I thought about what I'm talking about today. But I was just kind of going over the concept in my mind of, again, how much emphasis we put on our day-to-day life as far as, what we think we want, what we think we need, what direction we feel we should be heading in, which is all like good stuff in a way, right? We have to live in this world. So we have to be real with ourselves of what we're trying to accomplish and set our goals and move forward and such. But, we're always kind of just like looking sometimes past where we are is all I mean. And then, as time goes by and years go by or whatever, you sit back, you reflect, and you'll say, remember the time when we did this, and remember the time when you did that. And, when you go back to remembering those times, you remember those times and you remember those moments, but it doesn't necessarily, like what I'm saying is you're still in the everyday where you are there. Like you could be here today thinking of, 6 steps down the line of where you think you should be, whether it be career, relationship, education, whatever facet of your life. You feel like you're thinking 6 steps down the line. But while you're thinking those 6 steps down the line, you have a moment where you reflect back on a moment that happened 5, 10, 15, 20, however many years ago. And you just kind of reflect and you feel the energy of that moment. And, it takes everything away. You don't remember where you were then that day per se of like thinking you didn't have enough, or you don't think of on a day-to-day basis, you might have thoughts of lack at times, right? Of like, oh, I'm trying to get here, or I don't have this yet, or I still need this. But when you go back and reflect on a moment that was beautiful in your life, you don't think about like, oh, that was the day that I was missing this or lost that, or I still needed to get here. I mean, you might think that in a certain regard, but I mean, in general, what I'm saying is, when you feel stuff from your heart, like the good moments and the good times, you're not really, that's the present moment. Well, it's not really the present moment because you're reflecting on the past, but I mean, that was the present moment. That moment, it captures so much more than anything else that you were trying, to do. We sit in our brains just go thinking of like where we're going, what we got to do, what's next, and during all that, we're having moments and occasions and, life experiences that we look back and reflect on and be like, wow, that was like really beautiful. Like that moment brought me here. I had a great day when we did this, and I really was thinking of this because, again, I always try to bring it from my perspective because it's my perspective and that's the best way I can see it, right? So, and I think for myself sometimes, like, I always talk about it. I enjoy my swims at the pool. So, when I go for a swim at the pool sometimes, I'll be swimming and I'm thinking, like, I could be anxious sometimes thinking of, oh, I still don't have this settled or I still don't have that settled. And I try to stop myself and say, look at where you are right now, for God's sake. Like, you're worried about this, that, or the other, but I mean, life is happening. This is the only moment, as I always say, is the present moment anyway, right? So, I mean, when I'm swimming in the pool, I should be happy, right? I am happy, but I'm saying as a fellow human with the, because I'm not above any of this stuff that I'm talking about. Like these are the things that I'm trying to work on in my life day to day too. So that's why I like to share this information with you, because I feel like we're all a community and it's all about just helping each other grow and learn and, letting people know that other people are in the same space of feeling certain types of things in certain types of ways. So, try to encourage people to, just give space to, not get caught up in the mind chatter at times. So, one caveat to this a little bit, when I was thinking about it was, people can talk about, well, bad experiences, right? Like, whatever, something horrible happened, like you lost a spouse or, you lost a job or, I don't know, a bad car accident, who the heck knows, something that really is like a bad experience. And again, like, I was thinking about that part of it and I said to myself, truthfully, I mean, we label things as good and bad. It's just kind of what we do. But in the grand scheme of things, there really is nothing that is good or bad, right? I say this a lot. There's no right or wrong. Everything just is what it is. And I feel like even the experiences that we would, label, quote unquote, label as bad or detrimental are actually really helpful in our growth, especially more so some of the bad situations, are very helpful in our growth. The perfect example is like, my divorce some years ago. I mean, how much that taught me to grow as a person, made me reflect in different ways and, everything I learned through that experience. And, a lot of people would say, it was horrible or, they still hate their ex or, And, I don't feel like any of that. Like, I don't feel hate in any way whatsoever. In my particular situation, I feel we were both emotionally immature and, it was, when you have two people together that are both like emotionally immature and are both kind of looking for the other person to fill them up, I mean, ultimately it's going to fail, right? I mean, that's just the way it is because that's why most relationships fail. Anyway, in my personal opinion, it's because it's always people. I think people get into relationships looking to be filled up or someone to, make them feel better as opposed to to a person who already made themselves feel good with somebody else that made themselves feel good, and then the two people who already feel good go out and feel good together. Instead, most people, I would say most, because I don't think people even understand to think of it from that perspective of like, the responsibility or the level it takes to actually be in a relationship. Sometimes, like there should, you really should have to go through some training first, to go through some training, definitely training before you get married, to understand, like, are you emotionally mature and responsible enough to even be engaged physically with another, and emotionally with a human being, fellow human being on this level. Same thing with children. I mean, like, they just like let people have babies. When I think about it now at my age, I'm like, damn, they just let people, no matter what, they just go ahead and have a baby. It's like, I know it sounds like, I'm not trying to be like China or something where, you're not allowed to have kids. But I just think it's kind of funny when you realize, how important it is and what it really means to raise a child. And if you have a person that's not emotionally, stable in regard to be an adult enough to raise the kid. Like I see this one guy at my pool. I know the pool stories. I apologize, but I spend time there and I see a lot of interesting people. And the one guy's there with his kid, and I don't know. I always say to myself, I'm not sure which one is the smart one of the two. I'm probably neither. I feel horrible to be insulting a little bit, but again, my sense of humor, we just have to roll with it. We're just having fun here. I still love everybody no matter what, but like they almost like fight with each other like two kids, and I'm thinking like the kid does something and then the father reacts back like a child as well, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? Like this is the father, shouldn't he be acting differently than the kid? But hey, what are you going to do? That's just the way it seems to go in the world today. But that's what I mean. Like I think like even a pet, for God's sake, people should have some sort of level of responsibility before they're even entrusted with the care of any sort of living creature. It's like that old cartoon with the girl. What was that? Was that the Tiny Toons, or when she used to have the pets? I'm gonna love them and squeeze them and hold them and hug them and love them and squeeze them and love them and hold them and hug them. And she basically kills the animals. But I don't know. What the hell am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about, not being judgmental of situations and not being attached to outcomes. Talking about, thinking about really when you look back and think about experiences you have, and when you remember a good experience and a moment that was like just joyful in your heart, when you remember that, think about the joy that you feel to reflect on that moment. And you don't think about all the stressors you were necessarily thinking or what was going on in your life at that time. You just remember, I remember I was this age and we did that and that was a lot of fun. I mean, you'll remember stuff like, oh yeah, I was in school at that time, I was working so hard, or oh, that's when my mom passed away, or who knows what. Other things are happen. But I just mean in general, I don't know. I guess I really thought it because when I went on my jet ski excursion on Monday, and I haven't done that in some years, so it was really a great time, and I was reflecting on that, and I was just saying, I look back and, and I'm going to be thinking one day, well, I'm going to remember that time, like I'm going to remember that time, that day, and how nice it was, and how much fun it was, and that moment, and and I wasn't thinking about the other crap that I've been thinking about lately, as far as how I'm moving forward in my career, how I'm moving forward and, wanting to settle down in a home, in this area somewhere, like, all those thoughts, dissipated. And it was just, the moment of the jet ski. And when I reflect on that, I'll remember, oh yeah, I was living here and that or that, but I'll really just feel the joy that I felt that day, of having a good time and taking everything else off the table. So, that's what I think. I think that's important, to realize, because sometimes we let those moments go by because we're so caught up in what we think we want and what we think we should be doing. I'd say, to really remember the present moment, it's hard because you have to live and do, right? So, I mean, not everything can just be sitting in Zen all the time. I understand. But the more you can do on the level of, of letting go of, you take care of your business, you make your plans as you have to. And when that time comes, like, you say you have making plans for, next Thursday or whatever, you make the plans, right? But you don't have to like regurgitated in your brain, every day up until it happens, right? You made the plans, and when that time comes, that'll be, and because it's all one moment anyway, but this linear thing, that'll be the present moment, and you'll be engaged in that activity at that time instead of always keep being wrapped up in, what's coming next and making sure things are right and blah, 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 blah. Because really the only moment that exists is the present moment. So how much can you do to enjoy each present moment? Like every moment's the present moment, and every moment's the only moment. So like how do we do that? I would appreciate your thoughts and comments and replies onto that idea. What do you do to try to stay present in the moment, to try to not go too far one way or the other, living too much in the past or living too much in the future? I had a guy I used to work with back when I was living before I moved down to Florida. And when I first started that job, was 2008. And well, this guy is like 8 years older than me, about something like that. So, anyway, and so when I started, I was in my, 34 I was, so he must have been like 42-ish, say, right? And from day one, when I met the guy, he was just always talking about, his days playing sports in high school and, the girlfriends he had or the this that he drove or the places that he went. It was always like, he was done, like 42, and I look back on it because I'm thinking I just turned 50 and I feel like I'm just getting started. And I'm saying this guy was just, reflecting. Now let me say this because it's making me realize this about my point when I say, remember the time when, because, there's a detriment too if you're always kind of just like wallowing or reflecting into, the past. If you're seeking happiness in the stories of old, I think, you remember times fondly of moments and whatever that you enjoyed, but we're still always in the present moment first and foremost, but we're also always growing. So there's new moments to come. Like I never look back and think I've done so much stuff in my life. I could call it a life right now if I wanted to and say, oof, I did enough. Let's call it a life and move out of this sojourn back to the other side. But I don't think that way. I think really, I'm really excited about, like, I don't want to tell stories of what I was doing in the past, or I don't feel like, glory days or anything. Like, I feel like my glory days are still, I'm still looking for some glory days. They're yet to come. They're yet to come. The glory days. Glory days. They'll pass you by, glory days. Hey-o. What was the other one I was going to sing when I said, remember the time when? I was going to say, well, I know the remember when, there's that song, but there was another song I was going to go, do you remember when we met? That was the day I knew you were my pet. Speaking of pets. Okay, all right, thank you. That's my pet. All right, get out of here. It's enough already. That's really not my pet. I don't have a dog. I thought about getting a dog one day. Why am I saying this? This is like crazy tangent stuff, but that is how my brain goes. I apologize for that. Let's get back on track here on Operation Status Quo. And anyway, so that's basically the point I have today, ladies and gentlemen. It's really just like, when times come up and you remember those moments and you think about how beautiful they are, just realize that that's what we're doing all the time, right? We're always creating, and the more you live in the present moment, I guess I'm going to wrap it up with this. Like the more you can live non-attachment, right? And live in the present moment, then that's when you have those remember when moments, like, that's how much more beautiful they'll be in your thought process in the remembering, because you did away with, so much attachment, judgment, trying to make everything plan out the way you think it should be or whatever. If you were just living natural from your heart, like all the way through, then everything you did, when you think back on it, not everything, right? Because this is a life, but I'm just trying to say the more you can just like live for the moments and be the moments that when you remember them, like they're beautiful moments. I can think of tons of stuff, and of course the jet ski thing. I don't know. I'm so hung up on I love it. I want to get myself one of those one day. I've always wanted to, and I'd like to do that. But anyway, it just made me realize, like, wow, that's like, that's what are you really? We're here. We're not even real, right? We're just these, spiritual entities, in a physical body for an experience. So what does it mean? Everything we do, time and work and I don't know, everything we do. So, it's about living from the heart and creating those moments, because when you live true, those beautiful moments come, and and that's, I don't know, I just feel like it's really encouraging. I don't know, because I just think it's really encouraging. The more you live that way, and everything you do actually comes from a space of like your heart, your truth, whatever, as much as possible, and we all have our moments and stuff, but you're always creating then a space, even when like something that we would say negative happens, you're still doing it from this space of separation, non-attachment, being in the present moment. And even when you remember that situation, you can reflect on it fondly. Just like I just mentioned about the divorce, it was like when I went through that situation, it was really the worst that time. It was like the worst time of my life. I don't know, but I was one of the worst ones, obviously, but like I also don't remember it like in a bad way. I really I remember it as like how beautiful it was and how much I learned and how it helped me to grow. So that's what I think it's all about. It's not about chasing after the next thing. It's about being in the present moment, enjoying the experiences that you have, and enjoying and creating the life that you want to create. And that's what we try to encourage here on Operation Status Quo. It's all about creating the life you want to create, because you are ultimately the creator of your life. It's the craziest concept to get our brains around sometimes, but whether you know it or not, everything in your physical life is based on your thought process, your creation. Whether you think you're doing it or not, believe me, you're doing it. I know that for myself. So, that sometimes I have to remind myself of that. But anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. And one day you'll be sitting back and go, remember the time when we watched Operation Status Quo every day and we loved it so much because he was just so, yes, I know, I love you guys, because we had such a good time on Operation Status Quo. And that's what we do here, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Okay. Can we get it? Ayo. Ayo. Thank you. All right. Listen, I want to thank you guys for your time today here, as I always do. If anything I ever happen to say, even just a smidge, resonates with you in any way whatsoever, I encourage you to like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course, those you despise as well. Please don't hesitate to leave me some comments. Send me an email, whatever you want to do. My contact information is in the description box below. Happy to have you on the show if you're interested to be a guest. Also, happy to entertain any topics you would like for me to discuss and share here. So all you have to do is reach out, and I'll be happy to help you out, and we'll help each other out, and that's what we do here on Operation Status Quo. Alrighty then. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap it up. I love you out there individually as well as a group, each and every one of you for sure. God bless you out there. Stay positive, stay strong, have a happy day, and until next time, Operation Status Quo disengaged.